Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Jason. I'm a Course in Miracles student and a channeler, and I'm coming on for a daily dose of hope today. I think we're on daily dose of hope. It's day 52 today. Wow, 52 days I've been coming on. So a daily dose of hope is just that. It's a daily dose of hope. My guides guided me to come on and give a daily dose of hope as the energies on our planet are getting wackier and wackier and things are becoming more and more revealed. What was hidden has to be revealed, and that is the part of the process that we're in. And in this process, things can be a bit shocking at times. There's nothing really to be afraid of, but it can be jarring because everything's just up in the air. And so I just came on just to give a little bit of hope. So that's what I'll try to do. So hello everyone. So thank you for joining in. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to see you again. Yeah. So here we go. What I want to talk about is about finding your tribe, and what was the other thing I wanted to talk? So finding your tribe, and also going back to the basics. These two things I wanted to talk about, and yeah, and then I'll do some channeling. Okay, so first of all, so the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I went to this event that on the surface seemed like this really cool kind of spiritual kind of new world, not new world, but I don't know, not even new age, but just something like, oh, this is like what the new earth might be like, and all these kind of things. And I went to this thing, and um, but when I went to it, I realized like, oh, this is not my tribe, like, this is not my energy. And I was at the event, and I kind of felt like, I felt really out of place, I guess, like, and there was a bit of an age difference too, and I just was a little bit uncomfortable. Um, and but I just realized like, oh, this is just not my tribe. Whatever they're doing is wonderful. They're doing what they need to do, and I have no place to judge whatever it is that they're doing. But it's just like, I don't really fit into this place either. And so, what the crazy 3 years that we all had, it really shook everyone up, and it shook us up. And then we started realizing like where our tribe was, and we realized a lot of us realized like, oh, I'm not really in my tribe, and I really don't know anyone who is in my tribe. And at least for me, that was the feeling. It was a shocking feeling. I had been doing the Course in Miracles for a few years before that, and so I was dealing with my emotions basically, and dealing with what I see in the news. And so I wasn't reacting in an angry way or a negative way. I was just kind of observing, and and seeing things like discrepancies, and things like, oh, that doesn't seem right, this happened, and then this happened, and all of these different things, right? But at the time, it was, many of the people that were around me were in a different place, and I felt very alone. But I've been, used to that because I'm always been kind of the black sheep. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm the black sheep again. I'm just the crazy guy. Um, and so that was what I realized. But then I started, doing the Course in Miracles, and then I started channeling, and then I started this channel, and then I started doing sound baths and things, and I started meeting my tribe, and it was such a wonderful thing. It's like, oh, there are other people out there that are on the same frequency, and it was such a what's the word? It was such a great feeling. Like, oh, my tribe is actually out there. There are, I'm not just some, black sheep out in the middle of nowhere. There are other people that are in my tribe as well, and they're out there. And it was such a wonderful thing to see. And if it weren't for those 3 years, I probably wouldn't have actively searched for my tribe. And so, in that sense, those crazy times that we were um, in a sense, forced us to find our tribe. And so, yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm just so happy about that, because I just thought, oh my, what I can't really talk with anyone like honestly about everything that I'm thinking, and everything that I'm going through, believing, understanding. And but now I'm in a place where I can, at least in this community, and so I feel very blessed uh, to have seen this, to have noticed, to understand that there is a tribe out there. And so then I wanted to talk a little bit about what's the word? The basics. So in the channeling, I think it was yesterday. There was a being from it was a light being, I guess, from a place of no form, no shape, and they were talking about the basics, about the dimensions, and I got some more information about that too. And I have to get into a place that it's easier to understand. About they just went through all of the different dimensions and how they work with each other, and it's very interesting. One thing I noticed is just my own kind of notice is that in sorry, I'm pointing at my piano, or my electric piano. That in scales, if you're playing a musical scale, for example, do re mi fa sol la ti do, 7 notes, and then you move up an octave. That's the next octave. And so it was surprising to me that the dimensions are also stacked up in that way. So the seventh, after the seventh, you go up an octave. So it's a completely different realm. And so up until the seventh, you master the do re. I guess we're in the do part, and we're moving a little bit into the re, do re. We're in the do re part, and third and fourth dimensions. Well, that's interesting. I wonder if the third dimension is actually the do. Okay, so I never thought about that. Um, yeah. So actually, I guess the third dimension is me, do re mi. Uh, and but what I was thinking about was when I was, I think it was like 18 or something. I was studying classical guitar, like learning how to play the guitar, and I had a few teachers. And at that time, like the classical guitar was not, the pedagogy wasn't really like formulated. It was just in the beginning stages. There was a big boom in the 60s of like famous classical guitarists, and then that kind of created this big wave. And but then the pedagogy didn't really start until like the 90s and probably in the 2000s. So now, like a lot of the young guitar players, they really have really wonderful technique, because it's all been codified. But when I started learning, it was still kind of in the air, like how do you teach the guitar? Which is interesting. It's kind of strange, because violin is just like there is the violin method and there is the piano method. But so the guitar, yep, there you go. Um, but so yeah, so the guitar method, and so I had been playing for a long time, or not for very long, and but I was practicing crazy hours, like maybe 7, 8 hours a day practicing, and I was trying really hard. And then I approached my teacher and said, "What am I doing wrong? I practice all this time and I'm not improving." And she said, "Ah, well, you have to go back to the basics," which is very, very stressful to hear, right? I thought I was at this certain level, but then I have to go all the way back to the beginning, and it was a very hard thing to do. But I kind of realized at the time it was the only path forward. So I'd have to kind of go backwards in order to go forward. And but why I'm bringing this up is that at that time it was a spiritual process. Sorry, I got a sticker on my finger here. So it was like a spiritual process where I had to get rid of my ego. I had to get rid of everything. Like, oh, up until this point, I thought, oh, I'm a guitar player. I can play guitar. And then it's like, I can't play guitar. I have to go back to the beginnings, to the simplest things, and master them. And this was a really big learning experience for me. And I've applied that to everything else in my life, that you continually have to go back to the basics. No matter how far along you think you are, the basics are always so, so important. And that was what they were talking about the dimensions as well. That once a lot of beings come up to the seventh dimension, if they haven't mastered the lower dimensions yet, then they can't go up to the next octave. And so they have to send down people, or so what I know is just the story that I understand is the star family story, where they send down star seeds, like me and probably all of you, uh, to come down and to learn all the lessons, that master the basics again. And that's what a lot of us are doing, and we're in this advanced level now where everything's just going wacky and crazy, and we're gonna have to just look at everything and gotta master this, and I gotta figure out this, and I gotta forgive this, and I gotta. And so, but in a sense, it is the spiritual process. Um, some people say that, um, hmm, well, I guess there's always two ways of looking at what happened in those past 3 years. There's, I guess, there's probably many, many multidimensional ways, but what happened in the past 3 years, from one standpoint, was kind of like a mind control thing, where they were trying to control us and make us think a certain way and make us do a certain amount of things. But from another point of view, it is a very, very extreme spiritual process that we're all going through on a large, massive scale, and this process of discernment and this process of letting go of the ego and letting go of what we thought our world should be and what we thought we were up until this point, and just opening up to another way of being. And so that's, yeah. Okay, so then I'm just going to go into channeling and see who comes through. And yeah, here we go. And the question is, can they add anything to this? And do they have anything to tell us? What do they have to tell us today? So here we go. Hmm. Greetings. We are that one that you know of as Metatron, and we are here to pass down a message to all of you. A message that some might not want to hear, and a message that some might want to hear. And this message is a very simple message. It is a message that now is the time. And that is the message that we want to give to all of you. Now is the time. And you might ask, what do we mean by that? What do we mean by now is the time? And what we would say to all of you is that this message will be perceived differently for all of you. But in your lives at this moment, now is the time. Now is the time for all of you to take that step into the place that you have always been dreaming of going into. Now is the time to start moving into that place, moving into that world that you've always dreamed of moving into. And depending on who you are, some of you might jump directly into it. Some of you might tiptoe around it, but that's fine. However, you find your way, it is the time to start your process. It is the time to start doing what you love. This is the time to find where you love, who you love, finding your tribe, finding your place in this world. That is what this is about. It is finding out what your true heart's calling is. What has your heart been telling you all this time? What is the message that it wants to get out? What does it want to tell the world? And you know what it is because it has been telling you since you were born. That tiny voice coming from your heart saying, I'd love to do this. I'd love to do this. I'd love to do this. But then the other voice would always come in and with the buts and but. I'd love to do this, but I don't have enough money. I'd love to do this, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'd love to do this, but people would judge me. I'd love to do this. This is the time. This is the time to ignore the buts. The buts, you know what they are. You know, you've heard them many, many times. And so now you can just look at the buts and say, thank you for your advice, Mr. Ego. But it is time. It is time. It is time for me to step into what I love. And this is the time. This is such a beautiful and wonderful time to start. And all you have to do is start just day by day, doing it little by little, finding out what you love. The first step is always finding out what you love. What is it that you love? If you don't know, ask your heart, and your heart will tell you. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Ask your heart and write down the answer, and the answer will always be the right answer for you. Listen and listen and listen, and listen for that inner nudge. Listen for that click. That's it. That's what makes me happy. That is my passion. Your passion is your path forward. Your passion is your path forward through all of what is going on now and what will be going on in the future. Your passion is the path forward. Your passion is your path. Your love is your passion, and you need to start. We would suggest you would need to start. But if you Start now. Things will become a lot easier for all of you, is what we would say. Finding your passion is the first step. Listen to that voice. Maybe the voice is very, very quiet these days, but it used to talk to you when you were younger. It used to have so many dreams. Listen to those dreams. Those dreams have not died. They are still there in your heart, waiting for you to listen to them again. Listen to them because they are guiding you in the path that you need to go. The path that you need to go is not a path that has been traveled by many others. In fact, what we would say is that many others on your planet or many others in other planets have not traveled the path that you are all about to embark on. And the only compass that you have is from your heart. The only pathway forward is from your heart. Your eyes will say many different things and tell you different things. Your ears will tell you different things. And the people around you will say many things. But your heart is the true message. Your heart is your connection with God, with love, with all there is. And that is the message to listen to. And that is our advice to all of you. Hmm. Okay, so that's the message for today. Metatron, I don't think I've ever talked to him, maybe a long time ago. But there you go. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I will see you tomorrow if the universe wills it. Okay, ciao.